the Resident Evil 5 situation. You know, Resident Evil 5? The one where you shoot black zombies? Yeah, that one. Obviously, that cannot now slide at days. But at the same time, shooting Latin zombies... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being insensitive. Latin X Prime zombies is completely acceptable. But black zombies, oh, heavens forbid. Woohoo! Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Resident Evil 5 simply can't be remade, at least not by the standards of Capcom's best work. So the answer is not to remake, but to rewrite. The article misconstrued...
I wonder which parts are we gonna rewrite. I really do.
Here's the story of Resident Evil 5. IGN rated the original Resident Evil 5 a 9 out of 10. Huh? Why? What's wrong with Resident Evil 5? Oh wow, this is 5 million views and 1,000 likes? This is really bad. So why is it bad? Resident Evil game that can't be remade.
Released last year, Capcom's project to remake the glory years of its survival horror series is complete. But as the game's post-credit scene suggests, the remakes aren't over. And so the big question is, where next? The obvious answer is a remake of Resident Evil 5.
Okay.
But on the game's 50th...
Bro, they're gonna remake this to look like Wakanda. AK not change a lot because Wakanda, for being the most technologically advanced place in the fucking universe, was still a bunch of mud huts at the end of the day. Fun!
15th anniversary, it's clear that moving forward chronologically will take Capcom's remakes into the series' weakest era. An era of gameplay and narrative decisions best left in the past. Resident Evil 5 simply can't be remade, at least not to the standards of Capcom's best work. And so the answer is not to remake, but to rewrite.
Okay. Let's see
why?
how it goes.
I still don't know why.
Resident Evil is a survival horror series. Not that you'd know that playing Resident Evil 5. Sure,
Is it fucking stupid of me that every single time that I see a bridge, I think of PewDiePie? It's been like 7 or 8 years, and
Hey, if everyone's roasting you for being a piece of shit out of that human being, Asmongold, just take it. Don't try to now shift it on PewDiePie or whoever else. Okay? Deal with your problems like a man, not the little bitch boy that you are.
still see it, and I'm like, I remember whenever he said the thing.
Sure, it features a constant flow of horrific imagery, but Resident Evil 5 is an action game through and through. That's evident in its cover shooter mechanics, vehicle chases with on-rails turret sequences, and the constant rattle of assault rifles. Even its visual design evokes the sandy shade.
Ah, man. They really got the Kenya pirate vibe down real good. Rocket launcher in melee range. Beautiful.
Even its visual design evokes the sandy shades of modern military games that experienced mass popularity in the late 2000s.
Sure.
It all speaks to a series that had lost its way. Rather than reflect on the tenets that were the foundation of its experience, Resident Evil 5 looked to the contemporary gaming zeitgeist in an attempt to find a new lease of life. The result is an unholy hybrid of Resident Evil, Gears of War, and Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, I think this is fair for him to say. Absolutely. If he's saying that, like, basically, was Resident Evil 5 did they try to, like, do, like, what Halo 4 did? Where they made, like, loadouts and they tried to make Halo more like Call of Duty? Is that kind of... The issue is not the gameplay. Yeah, because, like, I don't know if that's really a... Like, it's the only good co-op Resident Evil. Yeah, I don't know.
It's as ugly and unwieldy as it sounds. This design appears to not just be a misguided attempt to follow Western successes, but also a misreading of its predecessor. With Resident Evil 4, director Shinji Mikami deftly reinvented the series through the use of a new over-the-shoulder camera angle. The perspective allowed for a more kinetic, action-heavy game. Despite this, Mikami never lost sight of the terror at the core of Resident Evil. Through the use of enemies that were strategically placed to provide undulating waves of tension and fear, and the inclusion of Ashley as your vulnerable charge, combat encounters were focused on surviving overwhelming horrors rather than dominating foes. Resident Evil 5, meanwhile, presents its enemies as waves to be gunned down with increasingly powerful weaponry. Their purpose is cannon fodder.
That sounds like a game that I would like. I remember I didn't like playing Resident Evil because I had to always think about how much ammo I had, and I thought that was really boring.
Yeah, thinking is kind of bad.
And I was like, I want to play a game where it's like me versus 1,000 zombies, and I have a machine gun with infinite ammo and a lightsaber. That's all. And like maybe I can get in a car, basically do them. Yeah, I know. That's the way I see it. Well, it's not. It's a survival game. I know. It's not Resident Evil. Like it's the same thing I said about Assassin's Creed, right? Is that I don't like the aesthetic of Assassin's Creed. I don't like the gameplay of it. Like, I don't like the whole stealth, hiding, sneaking around. Like, I think it's cringe. So, whenever I saw that, like, Valhalla kind of appealed to me, I would actually even see that as an L. Because an Assassin's Creed game shouldn't appeal to me. Because I'm not the target audience. And so, yeah, maybe you're right. And I think that, like, yeah, I know that there are people that like that, you know, some people like things I don't like, right? I guess this is one of them.
This is the worst Asmongold's tried to appeal to a masses I have seen just yet. Man, as last month has been just being dragged through the dirt constantly, is he broken now? Well, more broken than previously. Is he broken now?
A wall of meat to slow
I hope so, because we can we can farm that a lot.
your progress through levels.
Rising?
And those
Bro, that was
levels
a
are
game.
not
That was a
locations
game,
to be
bro.
explored. Instead,
Yeah.
they are largely
I had that
funnels
on a
that push you
360.
from entrance to exit. Resident Evil 4 may have replaced the series'
Shoot the
traditional
cock.
continuous structure with discrete levels in an attempt to move away from the backtracking-heavy design of previous games, but it
jeez.
preserved the spirit of locations like the Raccoon City Police Station. The village, Salazar's Castle, and the island feature interlocking, explorable pathways
Yeah.
that solidify these locations as authentic spaces rather than obstacle courses. Resident Evil 5 has no interest in this, with the majority of its stages being little more than corridors peppered with
So is IGN just running cover up for the fact that they need to change the game to suit modern audiences? Is that it? Is that it? Because none of this makes sense. They're showing gameplay footage of Resident Evil games that are not 5, and then saying, hey, 5 is just a massive shooter where you're supposed to mow down enemies. While they're showing other games where it's essentially, yeah, just killed enemies or maybe run past them. There's no real difference, okay? So if you're gonna tell me that's the big difference, I'm not obviously buying that bull.
dead ends to hide treasures in. Their lack of authenticity means no one will ever mention the Kajuju Autonomous Zone in the same breath as the Spencer Mansion.
Just shoot him in the leg.
All this is to say that a faithful remake of Resident Evil 5 would break Capcom's 7-year streak of brilliant survival horror games. It's
Okay.
telling that the series' reset point, Resident Evil
How is Resident Evil a survival horror game anymore? Resident Evil, well, The Village was a survival horror game. Yeah, that's true. But everything else is like action horror at this point.
7 was a reinvention of the very first game, a haunted house that grew ever larger as you unlocked new rooms by solving its puzzles. Clever reinventions of this base conceit is the key to Resident Evil's success, be that dropping
This
an
is the one I
unstoppable
played.
force into the house's
Yeah, I remember
corridors,
playing this
such
one
as
here.
Resident Evil 2's Mr. X, or expanding the scope of the house. Resident Evil Village's titular location is effectively a giant manor. Its corridors are streets, and its rooms are houses. Resident Evil 5's stage-driven structure is simply inferior to this design. A modern recreation of it would only further highlight its flaws, especially
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think it really kind of depends. I mean, like, some people probably... Like, did any of you guys like Resident Evil 5? I never played it, so I'm not sure. But I feel like this is probably the kind of game that, like...
People are saying yes. There's the chat. See that? Yeah. I never heard anyone say Resident Evil 5 bad.
Some people probably did like, and then other people didn't, and it was just like...
Well, obviously there are people who say Resident Evil 5 bad, but you know, the mass appeal is Resident Evil 5 good.
Maybe it alienated, like, base fans of the game, and so, yeah, I can get that. It was the best co-op and not the best one. Yeah.
coming in such close proximity to masterclasses like the remake of Resident Evil 2. Remakes can, of course, completely redefine the structure of their source material. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, for example, is recognisably
that was cool.
an updated version
saw
of the classic RPG,
comparison of that.
but its world design and gameplay mechanics are a world apart from the 1997 original.
Yeah.
And so you could argue that Resident Evil 5 is actually the Resident Evil most in need of a remake. A whole new environmental structure and scenario design that reins in the action and dials up the horror would bring it in line with Capcom's other remakes. But all of this doesn't account for Resident Evil 5's most notorious problem: racism.
There we go. Black zombies. Mech racism.
What?
And the ninjas black zombies in Africa? Oh no! The horror! Indigenous people don't exist in Africa, or anywhere for that matter, right? They just don't. They're like the Amish, a legend, a myth. Not completely unexistent.
Set in a fictional West African country, Resident Evil 5
I don't know, seems pretty realistic to me. This could honestly be any place in Africa.
its primary antagonists are black people. Yes,
Well, that's because it's in Africa. I would assume
But it can't be in Africa. That's racist.
that Ghost of Tsushima, the primary antagonists.
Also, Ghost of Tsushima is racist because samurais were black. Everyone knows this. Read a fucking book.
In that game were probably Japanese, right? Mongols? Okay. Mongols, we get the point? Yeah.
it's technically the Ouroboros virus that protagonist Chris Redfield is fighting. But the parasite's host is depicted as a nation of mobs and primitives who are violent even before their infection. Intentionally
I mean, there's a lot of places in Africa that are fucking primitive. Like, yeah. That's... No shit. Like, what do you... like, this is so weird. It's a true... Yeah, it's a literal true statement.
But we can't have those in today's society. Truth equals bad. Stop it.
It's not racist.
or not, Resident Evil 5 positions Africa as the Dark Continent, an uncivilized world harboring a diseased population that needs gunning down via Western intervention in the name of global security.
I mean, very inaccurate.
Well, that's a stretch, isn't it? I feel like that's a bit of a, like, oh my god. That's a huge stretch. Like, don't they have, like, a virus or something like that in, like, the game? I mean, it's not like he's going to Africa and just, like, shooting all...
Also, question. Isn't the setting of this game the before virus aggression explained that they're trying to kill the virus before it really starts even?
The black people, is he? Like, that's not the game, is it? I'm pretty sure that's not the game. This is crazy. What's wrong with people? The main villains are white? Yeah, like, so it's 457. I remember looking at this, and some of the villains in here, like these bad guys... Some of them were white.
Previous games.
So, like,
but not all of them.
Like, what is this? The reason is why it was, according to the director, they considered Africa the birth of humanity and wanted to do stuff with that idea. Well, yeah, it's not. I would not say it is. I don't know.
Oh yeah, by the way, Africa, birthplace of humanity. They found older bones than in Africa. Well, that's what I heard, but I never checked if that was that was confirmed. But they technically, but you know, a month ago I heard that they found older bones outside of Africa. Bam. Birthplace of humanity, no longer.
No, the current thinking. But whenever I was in school, we were taught that people came from Africa. That's what I learned, right? Is that, you know, it probably originally came from Africa. So this is actually kind of true. And it's like, if you look at pictures of Africa, there are really nice cities and there's great places in Africa. And there's places that look like this. That's the way it is.
Global security.
Yeah, that's, okay.
This insensitive treatment of people of color was hotly debated.
It's crazy.
Even as early as Resident Evil 5's debut trailer.
Oh
with writers.
I mean, this is literally Wakanda. What do you even mean? Look at the straw cuts. Wakanda forever, my dude. Literally Wakanda. I saw Black Panther. This is literally Wakanda. And they're saying this is bad?
even as early as Resident Evil 5's debut trailer,
Oh
with
my
writers
God.
such as Ngai Kroll and Stephen Totillo pointing out the game's uncomfortable post-colonial imagery. The argument
Post-colonial
What do you
imagery.
mean post-colonial?
God, bro, like, somebody needs to stop Western journalists.
Someone needs to just nuke America.
Somebody needs to stop them. Yeah, that is it. They're zombies. Yeah, these are zombies, and they've had like I could understand. It's like if every single Resident Evil game was set in Africa and you're only killing black people, where it's like, ah, man, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, maybe it's a duck. But like, there's like, what, 15, 20 other games? And this is in one of the games, so it's probably not like a racist fantasy
I agree, though. Africa should have been white.
of gunning
They
down
should have made Africa white.
minorities. Well, not even minorities. I mean, that's
By the way, I love the modern woke thing about, well, the world in general is, black people need to be anywhere, but when we depict Africa, oh shit. No, we can't depict those black people. No, relax, stop, chief. No, we don't depict them, okay? And if we depict them, it's because some white person made it all bad. Oh man, I love the modern day. Don't know about you, but it's hilarious.
you go to Africa. Oh wow, everybody around me is a minority. Like they're not really even minorities, but like what I'm saying is like it's just such an insane thing to say.
some think pieces continued well into the game's release window, with IGN's own former editor-in-chief Hilary Goldstein having also wrestled with the subject.
Is it racist? So you can't shoot black
In 2012, wow.
people in the game?
Yeah, obviously.
This is a video game. Like I would understand if it was like something like this is it's just what is wrong with these people, man? Where are they coming from? This is our culture. I am so sorry if you live in like Brazil or you live in Korea
Hillary Goldstein.
or you live in China or, you know, Japan, and you have to deal with our shit. Okay? I'm so sorry. I'd like to apologize on behalf of all
No one deals with that shit except Western countries. Everyone else is kind of completely chill.
all of the bored white people here in America. I'm so sorry we're doing this to you.
Nuke America, then.
I really don't want. I didn't want to do this. I'm not part of this. I'm not part of the system. But holy fuck, yeah, as an American, I apologize. Yeah, I'm just.
I don't know about that one, Chief. A guy who constantly says everything's racist and sexist. I don't know if I would say that he's not part of the problem.
So sorry. Its PR team explained this stuff. I think even Capcom went to try to add more light-skinned enemies among the zombies. Yeah, but
Why?
I mean, it's just, again, like, it's so weird. You know what I said before about how, like, Western media has to make sure that all media is reinforcing, like, current social norms? Like, all social norms have...
What do you mean? That sounds remarkably close to inclusivity score or an ISG or whatever it was called. ESG, sorry. Inclusivity, diversity, something. Didn't you say that that was a boogeyman that doesn't exist? Huh. How times change.
have to be reinforced through media, and you can't actually have media that is a suspension of social norms. I think this is an example of that. This is a really good example of that. Is that these people are unable to, you know, have any degree of willing suspension of disbelief. 2009, by the way. Oh, yeah. IGN gave this game a 9 out of 10, by the way. Yeah, I'll look at it in a minute. They want everything to reflect their ideology. Exactly, yeah. And that's really what it comes down to, is that these people are trying to co-opt, you know, like media and use it as a vehicle to tell their story, right? To push their narrative. It's not about whether something is accurate or not. I mean, anybody knows. I mean, like, there's a lot of places in Africa that really fucking suck. Like, Where was Joseph Kony from? So, and this isn't like a
Very, very racist.
you're not dissing Africa by saying this. Like, there's places in the U.S. that are really fucking bad too. There's
Everywhere?
places everywhere. Like this, it's not racist. That's just how it is. Jesus.
But that was 2009, a time when race was apparently a debate rather than a reality. In the 2020s,
What does that mean?
Yeah, that was back whenever people had free speech and they could talk about this kind of stuff without without getting worried about getting deplatformed and having all of their sponsors taken away from them and getting banned on social media. Yeah, it was a conversation because the other normal people could actually speak, and now they
Didn't this guy support it being It's a Gundam getting banned?
can't.
For speak that he didn't like, though?
You can't have you can't even have this type of perspective. This is the problem. It wasn't a reality then. Yeah, it's just it's incredible.
in a post-Black Lives Matter world, there is only one acceptable response to a white man shooting waves of Africans for an entire video game. No.
No,
No?
I disagree with
Okay.
that. No, I really don't think so. And I think also, like, it's very kind of odd to hear this coming from somebody who has an accent that's clearly not American. Like, this is an American issue. Like,
Wait. Did he just imply someone's accent? That's pretty bad.
what are you doing talking about this? It's Western culture. It's primarily American.
Okay, Western culture is boring. And this is Asmongold, so we're not gonna exactly get anything deeper than 2 + 2 is potato. So, anyway, that's it. I'm Bud. This is Quizzer Sensei. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, everything is racist.